Revenge films.
This is the story about how the wedding of my colleague turned into a fiasco. The company that I work for is pretty liberal. They don't say no to relationships between colleagues as long as there's no conflict of interest at work. People find it hard to find love once they graduate from college, because they're usually too busy with work to meet new people. So it's nice to work at a company that is supportive of people falling in love at the workplace. That's why there were so many couples at our company. Not everyone was open about their relationships, though, and liked to keep them a secret. And this year, many couples from the office were getting married. So it was not rare for us to attend a wedding 2 times in 1 month. I'm spending so much money to go to weddings. It was fun in the beginning, but now I'm sick of the cookie-cutter weddings. But the wedding invitations kept on coming. My colleague Sarah was getting married to Matt, also a colleague.
I hope to see you all at my wedding. I'll send you the invitation soon.
I wasn't dating anyone then, so I wasn't looking forward to attending another wedding alone. Sarah knew that she was beautiful, and she would take every opportunity to let everyone know that.
I feel sorry for you, April. It must be hard to get a date with your mediocre looks. I wish I could share some of my good looks with you.
To be honest, I had no intention of celebrating the wedding of a colleague that was so mean to me. I didn't care that she was getting married, and I wished that I didn't have to go out of obligation. I put away my feelings and attended the wedding with my other colleagues. On the day of the wedding, something big happened. Sarah was wearing a gorgeous white wedding gown and showing off her beauty to the guests. The wedding speeches began, and the guests listening laughed and cried at each story told. Our manager at work was the last one to speak. Our manager has had a few drinks too many and was about to give his speech in a joyful mood. He was notorious for drinking too much at social events. He would often cause issues at drinking parties where he would get very drunk and get too chummy with female employees. He would also start lecturing the male employees about work and what they should do to perform better. People at work disliked him because of this. But today was a formal event, and both Sarah and Matt's parents were going to hear what he had to say. We were worried that he may say something inappropriate during his speech. His speech started off well, but near the end, our manager began to slur and started talking about things that were not supposed to be said at a wedding.
I first met Sarah at a dinner among colleagues. That day, we spent a night in a hotel together, and we've been lovers ever since.
The wedding guests were stunned by what our manager had just revealed to everyone. Sarah became pale in horror. To everyone's dismay, our manager continued his speech.
We promised each other that we would continue to be lovers even after she marries Matt. I plan to share Sarah with Matt. This is such a happy day. Congratulations to the happy couple. Cheers to my lasting relationship with Sarah.
My manager was stupid enough to let everyone know that he was having an affair with Sarah, and he had no intention of ending it. In shock, Sarah's mother fainted, and Sarah began to weep. Matt was in a daze.
Get him off the stage!
Some of our colleagues ran to the stage to get my manager to stop speaking. It was chaotic.
I'm your manager! Let go of me!
But he was taken to another room against his will. The bride and groom and their parents made their escape soon after. The wedding staff didn't know what to do. So I guess Sarah was having an affair with our manager? Unbelievable. I don't understand why she decided to marry Matt if she has a lover. The guests began to murmur and gossip. Eventually, one of the wedding staff explained what events would take place from that moment on. It was announced that the rest of the wedding was going to be canceled. Staff explained that the bride and groom would be returning all the wedding gifts and celebration money. People wondered about the after party, and it was announced soon after that the parents of the bride and groom would cover the cancellation costs of the venue. A few days after the wedding, it was decided that Sarah should pay alimony payments to Matt. Sarah and her parents requested the same amount in damages to our manager. But there was a problem. Our manager was married, and his wife refused to pay the money. She couldn't understand why her family had to pay money when Sarah was the one having an affair with a married man. She's the one that slept with my husband and ruined my marriage. There's no way in hell that I'm paying for anything. I understood where our manager's wife was coming from. She was a victim too. Sarah shouldn't be allowed to ruin someone else's marriage and try to have a happy marriage of her own. just wasn't fair. Sarah needed to own up to the fact that she was greedy and selfish. After consulting with lawyers, it was decided that both parties were at fault. An agreement was reached. As for Sarah and Matt, they broke off their marriage and both resigned from the company. Matt began to work for a different company in the same industry. Everyone felt sorry for Matt.
Why do you have to leave the company too? You did nothing wrong!
Guess Matt wanted to put the incident behind him. And it wouldn't help that people in the company would continue to gossip about the affair. I heard rumors that Sarah was locked up in her parents' house in shame. I also heard that she was having a tough time paying the alimony payments to Matt. The payment amount was so big. If she wasn't locked up in her house, she would work all day and night to earn money. As for our manager, he is related to the president of our company. We all thought he would get fired for what he did, but that didn't seem to be the case.
I guess being a relative of the president of the company has its perks.
I agree. I can't believe he has the nerve to continue work like nothing's happened, though.
The employees of the company gossiped and expressed their discontent. Because of this, our manager was finally fired. The day after the wedding, our manager realized the severity of what he had done. He had hoped that his wife wouldn't find out. But when she did, she divorced him. Like Sarah, he had to pay a large amount of alimony to his former wife. Because of our manager's drunken stupor, Sarah lost her fiancé and ended up paying alimony to Matt. But no one took her side. In anger, Sarah said to our manager,
This is all your fault. My wedding was called off because of you.
But she was the one that chose to have an affair with a married man. She had to deal with the consequences. She was a fool for thinking that she could have had a happy marriage while continuing her affair with another man. She had a bad personality and no one in the office liked her. People in the office enjoyed talking about Sarah's failed marriage. Did you hear that Matt left Sarah? She got what she deserved. If she'd been nicer to the people around her, this might not have happened. It was now everyone else's turn to make fun of Sarah. It was too uncomfortable for Sarah to continue working at the company, so she resigned. To be honest, I didn't really care about what happened to her, because we weren't close. But she got what she deserved. She should have been smart enough to know that starting an affair with a married man never ends well. If your wedding gets called off, you usually have friends to comfort you. But in Sarah's case, she didn't have any true friends. If she had treated everyone around her with more respect, she may have had a friend to comfort her when she needed it. 3 years later, I got married to a man that a friend of mine introduced me to. We didn't have a glamorous wedding like the one that Sarah and Matt had, and it was a small gathering of family and close friends. But I was happy that my friends were there to celebrate me on my big day. My friends who came to the wedding told me that Matt had gotten remarried to his colleague at his new company. I was glad to know that he had found happiness. What happened to Matt with Sarah was really terrible, so he deserved to be happy. As for Sarah, people still gossiped about how stupid she was for inviting her affair lover to her own wedding. No one wanted to date or marry such a fool, so Sarah was all alone.
I work as a superintendent of an apartment building, but from about 1 month ago, some of my residents in the building would come to me to say that they felt like someone was watching them from a distance. Others would say that they saw a suspicious person in the building. They told me that they were frightened by the appearance of this person. Although I hadn't encountered such a person yet, I took the information received from my residents seriously. I contacted the closest police station and asked them to patrol the area around our apartment for any suspicious persons. We also had a security guard watch over our parking lot. A few days later, the residents came to me again.
Have the rules changed here? Are men allowed to move into this building now?
Oh, why do you think so? They told me that a man and his mother came to the apartment to look for a place to live.
This is a nice place, and it looks like a lot of beautiful women live in this building. This is the perfect place for you.
The son nodded his head in agreement in a creepy way. The residents were freaked out. After overhearing this conversation, the female residents worried that the building would no longer remain a woman-only apartment. That's not possible. You have nothing to worry about, I reassured them. Besides, changing the rules without the consent of the residents would be a breach of contract. The apartment is marketed as a woman-only building, and we have no plans to change that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear this. I was freaked out by that weird man that was in the building a few days ago. I love it here and I feel very safe because the building is close to the train station as well as the police station.
One of the reasons that I decided to work here was because my parents thought that this was a safe workplace based on its location and the building being women only. Most of the residents in this building were women in their 20s to 30s. Because I was close in age with the residents, they would come to me for advice often. I liked working here. They also liked that I was their superintendent. Being a superintendent wasn't my only job. I had another day job which kept me busy. So I wasn't at the building all day, but the residents would come to talk to me whenever they saw me. For these reasons, our apartment was very popular, and even if there was a room available, the spot would be filled right away. So it was important to have a young woman like me as the superintendent. My parents thought that I was the perfect person for the job. This building is for women only. The suspicious man that the residents were talking about was the type of man that would stare at women without saying anything. He would look at a girl in a skirt and smile in a sinister way. Everyone in the building was terrified of him. But he visited the building once again with his mother. I was shocked when they came into our building seeing that this was a woman-only apartment. I also realized that this was the man that the residents were talking about, and I realized after seeing him that he had a severe mental handicap. As I was trying to figure out what to say to them, the mother said to me,
Would it be possible for my son to live in this building?
"Well, this building is for women only, so... But we can't make any exceptions as we promised all the residents that this building would remain women only.
My son is scared of men, so he would feel safe living in this woman-only apartment. I'm sure you'd understand. And this would be a good place for him to learn how to interact with women."
I see. I'm sorry, but we can't change our rules. Please consider looking for a different place to live.
I'm sure that the female residents here would feel more at ease if they had at least one man living here to protect them. Besides, it's better to have some interaction with a man.
I couldn't believe how pushy she was being. From the looks of it, her son was not capable of any sort of social interaction. I felt bad for her and her son. I'm sure it was not easy taking care of him, but that didn't mean that I could bend the rules and let him live here, especially if it meant making the other residents uneasy. She didn't seem to perceive the absurdity of her suggestion. Her son was not capable of taking care of himself, so there was no way that he could live here by himself. He was drooling all over his clothes, but it seemed that his mother truly believed that him living here would be good for the female residents. She also seemed to think that her son could potentially find his future wife here. It wasn't his fault that he was not able to communicate on the same level as other people, but that doesn't mean that his mother can pretend that nothing is wrong with him. And the residents here chose to live here because they didn't want to interact with men on a daily basis. Basically, the mother's plea was outrageous, and it was wrong of her to come to me, because I was just a superintendent after all. I didn't have any say in the decision-making. Let me say once again that this building is for women only, and we will not be able to accommodate your son here. If you cannot accept this, please consult with the real estate agent. Also, the residents in this building are frightened by the stares they receive from your son. Please do not loiter in the building. If you are not willing to cooperate, I'm going to have to consult with the police.
I cannot believe this! Your building is discriminating my son! I can't believe that my son is being mistreated in this way!
We're not mistreating him. We're simply telling you that this building is for women only and that we can't make any exceptions.
If you're not going to let my son live here, I ask that you help me take care of my son.
After hearing this, the son started walking toward me slowly.
He didn't mean to scare me, but his smile was terrifying and he kept on coming closer to me. Please stop. You're scaring me. Because he didn't understand that I was scared, he wouldn't stop rubbing his body against mine. I was mortified. The drool from the son's face fell onto me and his cold hands were trying to feel me up. To my horror, his mother said to her son, "Oh, I'm glad that you found someone that is willing to take care of you." She didn't try to stop what he was doing to me. There are many women here, so you can choose the woman that makes you the most happy. She was even smiling. Please ask him to stop. He's hurting me. But she ignored me and her son wouldn't stop. Then one of the residents came into the room. When she saw what was happening, she screamed, "What's he doing? Make him stop!" "Go back to your room and call the police." "I will." She ran out of the room and did as I told her to. The police arrived right away and the mother and son were arrested on the spot. The mother didn't think that her son would get in trouble because he had a mental handicap. No need to arrest him. He has a mental handicap, and so this wasn't his fault. It's not his fault that he was born with a handicap. You can't blame him for his actions.
Even if he didn't mean any harm, as his parent, you need to tell him what is right and wrong. He committed a crime, and now he has to pay for it.
The mother then began to scream in agony and let out her anger by attacking one of the police officers. She was arrested for attacking the officer. I went to the police station to give a record of the events that took place. Mother didn't want to take any responsibility for her actions and would disobey the police officers, which made her sentence longer. Although the son was arrested for his actions, his mother got a longer sentence because she was the one that instructed him and showed no remorse for her actions. I didn't discriminate against the son for his handicap. I could simply not forgive the fact that he had assaulted me when I clearly didn't want anything to do with him. There are many people in the world with different types of handicaps, and a lot of them work very hard to live a decent life, even with the burden of their handicaps. I was mostly mad at his mother for allowing her son to act in any way that he wanted without taking any responsibility. People need to be punished when they do something wrong.
My name is Olivia. Just a normal office worker. I was just having lunch at my workplace with my coworkers. Jeez, that chief though. Did he really have to phrase it that way? Yeah, that was totally sexist. I hope he gets sent off to another office. Just like this, the three of us would get together at lunchtime. We're all about the same age, so we get along really well. I would call them the closest friends I have at my workplace. Most of the time, we would just talk about our families or the company. My parents are nagging me to get married recently. Really? Man, that sounds rough. But I do want to get married soon. Do you want to be a full-time housewife? Marriage is a topic that comes up a lot in our conversations. One of my coworkers, Mia, has a strong desire to get married, and she's always looking for the perfect man. The expectations are a bit too high in my opinion, though. Apparently, he needs to be much taller than her and has to be earning a certain amount. It's not going to be easy finding a man like that, and there's no guarantee that she'll be able to catch him. I just thought Olivia's the only one in our group that has a boyfriend, huh? I guess so. Hey, introduce him to me. My boyfriend works for a big company, and he's currently a candidate for an executive position. I'm pretty sure he's earning a lot more compared to an employee the same age as him. Plus, his family's really rich, too. I met him in college, and we've been together since. But recently, our relationship has signs of falling apart. Come on, when are you going to introduce him to me? After Mia continuously asked for me to show her my boyfriend, I finally set up a date to do so. I'm surprised that he was the one to her. He was the perfect match. I guess she wanted to get close to him, so he could introduce his friends to her, or did she want to snatch him away from me? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if any of that happened. So I brought my boyfriend over to introduce Mia and my other coworker friend, Emma. He had booked a nice restaurant for us.
It's very nice to meet you two. I'm Joshua, Olivia's boyfriend.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm Mia, Olivia's coworker. It was cool just introducing them to Joshua, but it was very clear and obvious that Mia had her eyes on him. Joshua seemed to be interested in her too, and he was asking her a lot of questions, like what food she likes or what she does on the weekends. The two were completely in their own world. Mia's a cute girl, and she's the type that knows how to control that cuteness. For her, it's easy to get a guy to fall for her. My other coworker that came along with her was pulling a very awkward face while eating the food. I really felt bad for her. Hey, are you sure things are all right? Mia will totally snatch your boyfriend away. I guess so. But if she really does, that only means he was a man of that level. Can't be helped. Emma got worried and pulled me over to the bathroom to have a chat. She must have been worried for me. Unlike Mia, she's a kind-hearted, sweet friend. Today, we all had lunch together, and that was it. The way back, Mia kept talking about my boyfriend, how hot he was and how I'm not fit for him. I never realized this at work, but it turns out Mia's the type to really pull other girls down when it comes to guys. Back home, Joshua seemed to really be interested in Mia, and his attitude began to change from there. And finally, Olivia, I saw your boyfriend walking together with Mia the other day. Yeah, I know, he's probably cheating on me. Emma came up to me with a worried look on her face and told me about Mia and Joshua. Emma said we should gather information and proof about this affair, but I had no intention to do so. She asked me why, so I secretly told her my reasoning. And so, in a matter of a month, Mia had taken my boyfriend away from me. He asked me to break up with him, and I had no reason to say no. Mia made it very simple. Bare bones apology to me, and that was it. There was no heart in it. She just said, "I'm sorry I took your boyfriend." I'm sure she didn't even mean to say it. I suddenly felt so strange that I was even friends with this girl. It's fine, I don't even care anymore. Seriously? He's such a good guy, though. You might not find someone like him ever again. Don't you have any regrets? I could totally see that she only looks at guys as numbers and status points. I said, "It's fine," again. She began bombarding me with very rude remarks. "Oh, I knew you two weren't good together. I understand him better. He looks more happy when he's with me. How are you treating him? Poor him. Why did he have to meet you first? I feel so bad for him," and on like that. It ended with a non-heartfelt apology again, but I obviously didn't accept it as one. I think something in her made her believe she was superior to me, and therefore felt she had no need to be apologetic to me. You know what? Actually, when I get married, I'm gonna quit this job. And for the baby. Huh? Finally, Mia broke to me that she was going to marry him and quit this company. She seemed so happy talking about her new life that's waiting for her. How she'll live in a big mansion and have cleaning helpers to do the chores. However, Mia seemed like she didn't know about his family situation yet. So out of kindness, I gave her just one warning. Hey Mia, just a quick heads up. Joshua's family is pretty religious, but it's a bit unique. Be careful. But of course, she never took my words seriously. Until the very end. All Mia said was, "You must be so jealous. I'm so sorry I took him," and other stuff along the lines like that. Soon after that, Mia had her baby and quit her job. I can't believe her. I never thought she could be this cruel. It's okay. She's gonna realize the truth sooner or later anyways. Wait, is that bad? Trust me, his family's pretty scary. A few months later, I received an invitation for Mia's wedding. But of course I didn't go. She can just enjoy the peace while it's still there. I'm sure she'll understand the truth in a month or so. A few months after her marriage, I received an update that Mia got pregnant. But within a few days, I started getting calls non-stop from her. "Oh, you finally noticed," I muttered and picked up the phone. The call, as I predicted, was about Joshua's family. "Why didn't you tell me? Weren't we friends?" she kept yelling at me, as if she truly believed I was a good friend to her. Joshua's family sure is rich. His family has a lot of money. But his family is under this dodgy religion. And people in his family have to go through ridiculous rituals under the name of trials or training. After I knew about this, I tried telling him that I wanted to end our relationship. But he wanted to stay together. It was about this time when Mia wanted me to introduce Joshua to her. So I honestly felt this was the best opportunity to do so. If it was Mia, I knew she would have the skills to make herself look good and make Joshua fall for her. Like, they keep forcing me to join this religion, and they say I have to give my newborn baby to other people, and I'm not allowed to raise the baby? It's just crazy. Huh, well, that sounds rough. My response made her quite angry, and she yelled at me. You're just laughing at me like it's none of your business, aren't you? I did warn her about his family and the religion they follow. Well, whatever the reason, I can never think of Mia, a girl who steals people's partners, as a friend anymore. On the phone, I told her, why don't you just break up with him? But, no way! He's the best man I've met in years. There's no way I'm giving him up. She replied. So I said back, I guess you just have to suck it up. But she doesn't want to. Apparently, part of this training forces women to have affairs with random men. And Mia really didn't want to do that. She wants the money, but not the religion. I was exasperated by her greediness. I don't care what, just help me, Mia pleaded. And I replied, well, it's on you that you came up to my boyfriend with the intent of stealing him from me, without any prior knowledge about who he is. So that's that. Don't call me anymore. Pretty please, Olivia. Look, I'm sorry, okay? Even if you want to break up with him, I won't help you because I don't even see you as a friend anymore. Plus, I warned you, didn't I? With that, I hung up the phone. Gosh, that's what you get for choosing a man with just his looks and money. The person inside is what matters.
What's up?
Huh? Oh, it's nothing.
My name is Karen. My parents divorced when I was in 4th grade because my father cheated on my mother. After the divorce, I lived with my mother. My mother worked day and night to provide for me. She left for work every day after I went to school and would be home when I came back from school. She would play with me and help me with my homework. And after I went to sleep, she would go to her night shift as a cleaning lady. She would wake up early every morning to make me breakfast. My mother was so good to me. She would spend every spare minute she had with me. But when I was in 6th grade, my mother died in a car accident. I remember the accident vividly and still hold on to the fond memories of my mother. I cried endlessly when I saw her lifeless body at the mortuary and couldn't get myself to go to school for quite some time. My aunt, my mother's younger sister, took me in after my mother's death. Because my aunt looked just like my mother, I would think of my mother any time that I was with my aunt. My aunt was single and didn't have any children, so she was more like an older sister or friend to me rather than a second mother. My aunt likes to play games, watch anime, and read manga, and I started doing the same thing after living with her. Some of the manga that I read helped me through the loss I was feeling after my mother's death. My new hobbies became a good incentive for me to leave the house and go shopping or attend events. Once, in high school, I got a job at a fast food chain so that I could save up enough money to buy the things that I wanted. On my free days, I would go out with my aunt or my new friends in high school with shared interests. Although I hadn't forgotten about my mother, I moved past my sense of loss and became outgoing. But for some reason, after all this time, people in my neighborhood began to gossip about my sad past. The fact that my parents had gotten divorced because of my father's affair, and the fact that I was living with my aunt after my mother died. People noticed a change in my aunt's life. She was single for a long time, and she suddenly had a daughter, which made people curious.
But I didn't let the gossip bother me. I found out about the gossip when I went out with my aunt to do some shopping. I saw some neighbors staring at us and overheard them saying, "That girl isn't her real daughter. She's the daughter of her older sister who died in a car accident." Yes, I know. I also heard that the girl's father cheated on her mother and left them when the girl was still a young child. I don't speak to my father or see him, but he is alive and he sends money to my aunt to pay for my education and living expenses. I was upset that people would talk about me like that behind my back, but my aunt said to me, "Don't worry about what they're saying. They'll move on to a new topic soon." But 2 weeks later, when we were out together shopping again, we saw the same neighbors, and this time they were gossiping about us at a distance where we could clearly hear what was being said. "I can't believe that she is able to live with a child that's not even her own. I'm not sure if I could love a child that wasn't mine."
I agree. I wouldn't be able to do that either.
What they were saying was pretty much the same as the last time, and it seemed that they pitied our situation. We intended on walking away from them without saying anything, but my aunt was furious when she heard one of the neighbors say, "I can't believe that the girl looks so happy, even after losing her mother. If I were in her shoes, I'd never be able to smile or laugh again. Maybe she's not even that sad about her mother's death. Oh, she's so strong." And the neighbor started talking about her own worries as if they were more important than mine or my aunt's. In fury, my aunt went up to the neighbor and slapped her in the face. "How dare you say such things when you have no idea what we've been through? How long do you think it took for Karen to smile and laugh like she does today? Is she not allowed to be happy? Does she have to be sad for the rest of her life? Do I have to be her real mother in order to love her? Although we lost my sister, we've been living together happily and making the best of our situation. Just because we are a small family doesn't mean that we can't be happy. I'm sure that we're much happier than you, seeing that you say bad things about your husband and children behind their backs." I had never seen my aunt so angry. She was also crying. The neighbor who got slapped still wouldn't apologize to us, though. "I can't believe that you just slapped me." My aunt slapped the neighbor for a second time. "Somebody stop this crazy woman!" My aunt continued to slap the neighbor in the face. Okay, I'm sorry. Are you happy now?" "I think you need to apologize to my niece." "I'm sorry for saying all those terrible things about you." The neighbor apologized to me with her cheeks red from being slapped many times. I was worried that she might call the police after what my aunt did to her. "I'll make sure that they don't gossip about you like that again." I'm glad I was able to confront her. I'm a little worried that she might notify the police of what happened today. I don't care if she calls the police. I had to put her in her place. You should continue to smile and laugh without worrying about what others think. You have every right to be happy. You can cry when you're sad, but it's also okay to be happy when you want to be. I began to cry when my aunt said that to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's okay to show our emotions. We're human after all. My aunt also began to cry after saying that. You're crying. No, I'm not. My aunt tried to force a smile, but there were tears in her eyes. We both started to laugh after that. My aunt said that she had thought of what to say to me to cheer me up from one of her favorite manga books. The manga that she had referred to was about a boy that lost his father in a plane crash and had a mother that went missing. And there was a scene in this manga where someone tells the boy that they did not understand how he could be happy after what happened to him. The boy's aunt tells the person off, just like my aunt did for me today. I understand that my aunt shouldn't have gotten violent with our neighbor, though. But I was touched that she stood up for me like that. She was like a mother to me. After the incident, the neighbors stopped gossiping about me and my aunt. They even came over to ask if I needed their help with anything. I am grateful to my aunt for taking such good care of me.
One day, Mr. A came to visit our house. He was an old friend of my husband, and he said he's the boss of Mr. B, who lives in my hometown. Apparently, he's looking for Mr. B, who has gone missing. Since Mr. B's family and our family were close, my husband became extremely shocked and was worried. Then Mr. A said,
Contact me as soon as possible if you find anything out.
Got it.
and so he left his contact information with us. That night, my worried husband contacted Mr. B's house and told them Mr. A came to our house. However, Mr. B's wife was surprised. Apparently, Mr. A found out about our address by visiting Mr. B's house, getting a hold of some of their mails. But our house and Mr. B's house is very far that requires a short trip by airplane. Plus, we couldn't understand why Mr. A came to our house, even though we don't know each other that well. And apparently, he came to our house right after visiting Mr. B's house. I didn't expect him to go visit you guys right after getting your address. That's what Mr. B's wife told us. Furthermore, we also found out that ever since 2 days after Mr. B went missing, Mr. A has been visiting Mr. B's house every single day and would ask to look at conversation histories on Mr. B's phone, as well as their address book containing all their acquaintances' addresses. Although Mr. B's wife gave Mr. A the address book, she didn't give the conversation history since she did not have it in hand. Mr. A's actions were very strange, and sometimes he'd even visit their house after midnight. Although thinking he found out something important, it was usually a progress report with not much success. Although she was happy that he was searching for Mr. B passionately, she felt something was wrong, and she was feeling uneasy. In addition, my husband also said,
That reminds me, when I was drinking with B, I heard him talk about Mr. A. There's no other person with the same last name. I think he's used violence on B. I thought their relationship was extremely bad.
if that was true, why would Mr. A go to such an extent and visit us who live more than 100 kilometers away? Since we're outsiders, we may not know some important details that might make it inappropriate for us to be suspicious of him. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious we became. We gradually felt that something was definitely wrong. On another day, Mr. B's wife contacted us that Mr. A traveled to Mr. B's parents' house, which is a flying distance, and he demanded them to give him all of their acquaintances' contact information. However, Mr. B's wife had told Mr. B's parents and Mr. A and that he was a person to watch out for. Mr. B's parents did not give any information to Mr. A. In fact, Mr. B's parents also said that Mr. A's actions were strange as well. When Mr. B's mother said to Mr. A, "We asked the police to investigate the matter, so I don't want ordinary people to poke their nose in and disturb the investigation." She told this to Mr. A in a polite manner, but Mr. A, who was smiling until then, suddenly made a scary impression and was even twitching his cheeks, but he forced a smile back again and said,
Don't get me wrong, my team member is missing. It's normal for me to be worried, right?
That's what he said, but since his tone and his facial expressions wasn't matching at all, they got chills. Although not much happened after that. 1 week later, there was a change in situation. Mr. A was arrested by the police. According to the police, Mr. A has been stealing money from his company for many years. And a clear evidence was also submitted to the police showing that he had stolen more than $100,000. Among the evidence of fraud, they found a number of hidden safes and bank books with huge sums of money in them. Then we found out that Mr. B had found out Mr. A had been embezzling company money. And because of that, he was searching for Mr. B desperately. When the police investigated Mr. A's house, they found out that he was looking for things like deserted mountains on the browser, and that he also had purchasing history for weapons too. It seems like he was planning to finish off Mr. B to seal his mouth. When I first heard about Mr. A's arrest from my husband, I finally understood why I was getting uneasy at the very beginning, and I got goosebumps just thinking about this whole scary situation. Maybe Mr. B had sent some evidence of fraud to my husband, and we may have seen it without clearly knowing what it was, or we couldn't have given it to Mr. A, who was acting like a good person. And if we had given that evidence to Mr. B's wife, and Mr. A witnessed us giving it to her work, he could have killed us to seal our mouth. It means we were crossing a very dangerous bridge without ever even knowing it. Although my husband and I and Mr. B's wife all thought that Mr. A's actions were strange, we tried not to show that through our attitude. Thinking back about it, maybe this was our self-defense instinct. And when Mr. B's parents told Mr. A to not meddle with the case, they told us that Mr. A's expression changed drastically, although Mr. A decided to let them go. It could have been possible for him to have killed them, getting annoyed by them. According to the police, Mr. A thought that Mr. B sent some evidence of his fraud to his friends, through some means. So he tried to collect those evidence before anyone found out. That's why he was going around visiting our family, Mr. B's wife and Mr. B's parents' house. After all of that, we thought that Mr. B was already murdered by Mr. A. But we found out that Mr. B was alive and that he was hiding while collecting more evidence. The reason why Mr. B was hiding was because if the evidence was not enough, Mr. A would be released for lack of evidence. And if that happened, Mr. A would surely try to kill Mr. B, who reported the fraud to the police. So that's why he couldn't go back home until he was able to get sufficient evidence. And the reason why he didn't want to contact his wife was if Mr. A somehow found out that Mr. B was contacting his wife, he didn't know what kind of inhumane actions Mr. A would take to get his wife to tell him where he was. That's why he thought it would be better if his wife thought Mr. B was already dead. Fortunately or unfortunately, Mr. B's wife thought that Mr. B was actually already dead. So when Mr. B appeared in front of her, she broke down into heavy tears.
Sorry I made you worry.
I'm so happy you came back alive. I thought you were already done for.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'll never do something so dangerous again.
You better. My husband, too.
Why didn't you ask for help? That's the bad part about you. Sorry, I made you worry too, but I couldn't let the fraud go on. Every year the company's money didn't match. I thought it was strange, but I realized that my boss seemed to be getting richer in the past few years. So I became suspicious and began to investigate the matter. I knew that your boss didn't like you, so that's why I was even more worried. Not just me, but everyone. He's a smart guy, so I thought I had to go all out if I wanted to catch him. Jeez, I know you're that type of guy, but don't make your wife cry anymore. I'm sure she was in despair every single day. Yeah.
After that, because of clear evidence, Mr. A was sentenced to prison. Mr. B was heavily thanked by the company, and since his work performance was already known to be excellent, he was promoted at once. In addition, since he was well liked by the CEO, he was told,
Did you want to shrink my lifespan?
even the CEO was deeply worried about him. In addition, the case of Mr. A became a big news, and it was reported on many media. After that, my wife and I were invited to stay at Mr. and Mrs. B's house for a sleepover, as they said they wanted to show their appreciation for the Times case. It was surely a wonderful thing to expose injustice, but at the same time, I'm extremely glad that Mr. B didn't lose his life because of it, and that Mr. B's wife can continue to smile next to him. My name is Hannah. I'm a part-time employee, and currently, I live together with my husband, Ron. Ron is 10 years older than me, 40 years old, and we've recently celebrated our 5th anniversary. We met each other at our workplace. And after marriage, I quit the job and began working as a part-time employee at a restaurant. We weren't able to have children. And although we went through rough times going through infertility treatment, after deciding to give up completely, we live a happy life. However, I have one thing that is worrying me, and that is, starting about half a year ago, Ron has been coming back home late, and he's treating me colder than before. Ron said he's tired from working overtime, but I didn't fully trust his words. And that was because although he said he was tired, he spent time doing his hair. And he always started caring of his body odor as well. Because of such actions, I didn't trust him. Already at this point, I was already suspecting Ron was cheating on me. However, since I didn't have any evidence, I couldn't bring it up to him. But then one day, a call came from someone unexpected. I don't know this phone number. I wonder who it is. Hello? You're Ron's wife, right? Yes, I am, but who are you? My name is Mary, and I'm Ron's girlfriend. Girlfriend? Yes, and I'm gonna get to the point quickly. Please break up with Ron. Wait, what? Do you understand what you're saying? Of course. Ron wants to marry me. Please give up already. This is not about giving up or not. You are Ron's affair partner. Do you think this is acceptable? If you divorce him, I'll at least pay some compensation. Oh, you're so annoying. I'm pregnant. Huh? Kidding me, right? It's true. I have a kid. So hurry up and leave the house, you old hag. Okay, I'll send my husband's belongings to you. Huh? So tell me your home address and your full name. Until we are officially divorced, I don't plan on leaving the house. Ron knows all that, so you can ask him later. This lady, Mary, revealed that she was having an affair with my husband, and now she's mad at me. Although I was suspecting Ron was cheating on me, I didn't think I'd find out the truth in this kind of way, so I couldn't hide my surprise. That night, as usual, Ron came home late, and I began to interrogate him, and surprisingly, he readily admitted about the affair and that his mistress was pregnant. Ron didn't seem like he felt bad at all, and brought about the divorce nonchalantly.
Until the divorce becomes official, I'll be living in Mary's house.
Okay, I'll send your stuff, so tell me Mary's address and full name.
Okay.
Although we've been married for 5 years, I couldn't feel his love at all. I just couldn't forgive him for that. I found out that Mary is 20 years younger than Ron, and she's still 20. And that they met at work and began going out after that. Since the divorce was initialized, Ron began to distance himself from home ever more than before, and began to spend the night outside without telling me. The kind of situation continued for a while, and so I was able to think about the situation more logically, and began to not regret about the divorce at all. But Ron, who cheated and decided on the divorce on his own, and Mary, who didn't seem to think cheating was not bad, I just couldn't forgive them. So I decided to have my revenge. I secretly began to prepare my plan, and at the best timing, I decided to carry it out in action. And in order to make this plan a success, I needed some help from Ron's workplace as well. So I decided to ask my former boss, who took care of me before my marriage, and after telling her the situation, I asked her to investigate about Mary. My boss has now risen through the ranks to become the department head. After telling her all my story, she got furious at Ron and Mary's actions. She became my ally very quickly. My preparation was going smoothly, and all I needed to do was now call over Ron and Mary. But then, Mary brought up that she wanted to talk with the three of us. Since this was convenient for me as well, I quickly accepted it, and invited Mary over to my house that weekend. The day of the gathering, Mary came to my house without knowing what was going to happen, and Ron goofily carried for Mary's body in a way that I've never seen before. After we all gathered, Mary opened her mouth. But I immediately stopped her. Wait, I actually have one more person I invited today.
Another person? I didn't hear about this.
Ding dong! Oh, seems like she's just on time. I'm coming.
Who is it?
It's me. Got a problem?
Boss? Why?
Boss? I called Boss beforehand and asked if she could be our witness. Then, Ron and Mary, who looked confident until now, suddenly seemed like they lost all their confidence. You don't have to worry about me, so please, start your discussion. You're the ones who wanted to discuss, right? So go ahead.
First of all, let's divorce. I'll pay the compensation.
What about the reasons for divorce?
That...
Is that something you don't want to say in front of me? We are dating each other. And I have his child within me, so please divorce. Are you sure that's Ron's child? Of course! Huh, strange. That shouldn't be the case. Huh? I didn't tell you, but the reason we couldn't have children was because you're the one who's infertile, Ron. If you don't believe me, you can test it on your own.
What? Don't be making things up! Why did you hide this from me all this time?
When I was going through infertility treatment, the doctor recommended the test for you too. So I had it checked when I was going through IVF. I was going to, but after that, we discussed and we decided to give up on having children completely, so I thought I'd keep quiet in order to not hurt you.
You're kidding me. Then what about Mary's child?
As for that, I did some investigation at work and got some information, so I'll be the witness. Huh? I was able to see messaging history from one of your friends, Mary. You seemed like you were worried you got pregnant, but didn't know who the father was.
Hey, is that true?
I was able to get a screenshot of the chat, so I do have evidence. Here. After seeing the screenshot, Ron became furious that he was tricked by Mary. He declared that he would not marry Mary. In addition, he began to say that he didn't want to divorce me anymore. I decided to tell him my honest opinion. Huh? What are you saying now? I will divorce you no matter what. And I want you to pay compensation as well.
Huh? But I'm gonna be breaking up with this woman. There's no reason to divorce anymore. Let's live together in this house again.
Who would want to live together with a guy who cheated on his wife? Hurry up and leave the house.
Why do I have to leave?
If you lose your job, you can't pay for rent, right? I already sent all your stuff to Mary's house, and I already changed the key for the house, so you can't use it anymore.
Huh? Lose my job? What do you mean?
An affair within the company is something that would never be tolerated. Both of you are sure to be punished, so be prepared.
Oh no.
The two of them were kicked out of the house by me and my boss, and left arguing with each other. After that, the two of them obviously broke up, and Mary became a mother without a husband. And since the story of Ron and Mary's affair spread throughout the workplace, finding it difficult to come to work, they left the office on their own before they were punished and was decided. And right about the same time, our divorce became official. And currently, Ron is working at multiple part-times to pay for the compensation fee of $20,000. Losing a place to live in, Ron apparently stayed at a shabby hotel for a while. But he was able to find an old apartment to live in later. As for Mary, I did demand her for compensation of $10,000, so she must live a tough life having to work while being pregnant. I did tell Ron's parents about the affair as well, so even his family insulted him. And after about a year and a half after the divorce, Ron appeared in front of me, bony and in ragged clothes. My doorbell rang suddenly, so when I opened the door, Ron was standing in front of the doorway, looking like a different person than before.
Hannah, please! Please forgive me! I quit work and I was insulated by my family as well. There's no way I can pay $20,000.
Even though he said that, I had no intention of forgiving him at all. So I kicked Ron, who was crying out of my house. After my divorce, my former boss introduced me to a new job. And currently, I live a peaceful life by myself without Ron. I'm absolutely sure that I wouldn't get back together with a guy who'd cheat on me. And Ron and Mary, who lost everything, I'm sure a tough life awaits them.
My name is Caden Oliver, and I'm just an ordinary office man. But I still am in a relationship. But my girlfriend's been acting cold towards me recently. Wondering if I've done anything wrong, I decided to ask her the matter. Her name is Reagan, and she does clerical work at the same company where I work. Hey, you seem cold these days, and I was wondering if I did anything wrong. In response to my question, she replied rather cantankerously if I really had no idea, which my answer was no, of course. That's exactly why I was worried, and at a loss for what to do. And then she started to explain everything thoroughly.
You never talk about your family, do you, Caden? You never brought me to meet your parents.
I detect resentment in her face as she said so. Could she mean that for that reason she couldn't trust me? But there was a sound reason for my silence on the matter. To tell the truth, my family's a bit complicated, and I was gonna tell her after seeing how things go. I was about to tell her that, but she cut me off and went on.
Listen, after we parted on our date the other day, I started to follow you.
Eh?
And I saw you go into an old, ominous house.
Oh, but that's...
I didn't think your family was that poor, Caden, and I don't fancy poor guys at all.
I couldn't believe my ears. She never seemed like the kind of girl who would say something like that. Needless to say, I was shocked. But she wasn't done yet. She said that because of my mild-mannered personality and neat appearance, she thought I'd come from a decent family, and decided to be together with me. But when she opened Pandora's box, it was merely split checks on dates, except on special occasions. And she was unhappy about presents, and the fact I only gave some on her birthday or on anniversaries.
Ugh, honestly, I've made a big mistake. I thought you had more money than that.
So you were looking at me that way this whole time?
Yes, I was. So let's call it off, all right? We'll both get only sadder and more uncomfortable if we stay together.
It was a hard decision to make, but I decided to go along with what she said. Who would have thought she was that kind of girl? Seeing her as someone who judges people by their looks and their money made me see her in a different light. And I felt somewhat depressed. I truly loved Reagan, but I felt that those feelings had been betrayed, and I plunged to a pretty low point. However, a year later, spring came back to my doorstep. I became a couple with a girl by the name of Madeline, who worked in general affairs. Unlike Reagan, she didn't just judge people based on their money. She consoled me after she found out about her betrayal.
Mr. Caden, would you mind if you were with me?
Huh? She was so kind. She was always all smiles by my side whenever I needed someone. We sometimes fought, but that was also because we cared about each other deeply. Thanks to Madeline, I was able to get back on my feet, and my rough life went back to smooth sailing. After a while, though, Reagan called for me.
Hey, Caden, what's the meaning of this?
What now all of a sudden? I'm busy. My feelings for her had already gone stone cold, and I was about to disregard her presence and head home. But she was stubborn, I must say.
What's with that personnel reshuffle? You never told me you were the son of the CEO.
Yeah, I am. Because it would be easier for me to be its successor, the staff system will change soon. Yep, I've been hiding the fact that I am the son of the CEO of this company from everyone. The reason was simple. If people knew, they would treat me differently and behave around in a completely unnatural way. So I kept quiet for 3 years as I worked, until I found the right time to tell everyone. And the preparations to become the true CEO had begun. As for Reagan, my family personally asked me to know more about her before I told her everything. In the end, though, they were absolutely right. I would only experience guilt and regret if I told her my true colors before we broke up.
Why didn't you tell me?
I was about to, and you interrupted me, you know. Of course, I was gonna tell her that very day. But before I did, I realized who she really was as a person and never got the chance again. And so I gave up on telling her.
Well, what then? Did Madeline know about this?
Yeah, I told Madeline a little while ago.
Then why were you living in that, outhouse?
I explained everything to her, since she finally asked. The house she saw was the old quarters of my grandfather. He's bought a new house in another part of town where 3 generations of his family currently live. As for why the heck I was going in and out of that old outhouse, it's going to be demolished, and we had to get a bunch of old belongings out of there. It belonged to my grandfather, who founded the company, and it would spell disaster if we mistakenly destroyed some documents in the demolition process. And sorting through everything took lots of time, so I often stayed the night there too. After I was done explaining, She exclaimed again, "Why didn't you tell me?" "That's because you said what you said before you gave me a chance."
What do you mean by that? Oh, honestly, you're such an idiot for doing things like this. But I'll forgive you just this once.
Huh?
How about we start over, yeah?
Exactly like the year before, I couldn't believe my ears. What the hell is this doty girl talking about? I truly wondered how she had the audacity to say such a thing after everything that had happened. Reagan started to tell me to break up with Madeline. When she said that such a girl is only after your money and not you for who you are, I nearly blurted out, "Who gave you the right to say that?" But I have no intention of breaking up with her at all. I was absolutely certain that Madeline was a more wonderful person compared to Reagan. Above all else, her attitude pissed me off for real. What are you talking about? Aren't you the one who dumped me?
That was because I wasn't satisfied. You never told me some more private things about yourself.
I remembered my resentment towards Reagan with her goody two-shoes lies. She just double confirmed that this hog was after money and nothing else. That's why I rejected her coldly. You'll forgive me, but I'm thinking about marrying Madeline. Unlike you, she's a wonderful girl. Even if I didn't give her many presents, she told me that just being with me made her so happy.
She's only saying that to trick you. Don't believe her, darling. Wake up.
No. You need to wake up to the truth that you frowned upon and then threw away a poor man who would become this company's next CEO.
Hang on. Wait, please. Let's start over. You're still in love with me, right?
She wouldn't let me go as she said so, but I left as I ignored her. After the reshuffling, my job changed too. I was now at peace. Or so I thought. Reagan had started to harass Madeline. She perhaps thought if Madeline left the company, she would still have a chance with me. But the company found out about the harassment, and her boss severely lectured her on the matter. And when I thought the nightmare finally blew over, she then started to stalk me. At every possible opportunity, she approached me and pestered me to start over with her. But I never wanted to, and I eventually reported her to the police. She wasn't arrested, but was instead let off with a warning. But once the company found out, and after considering the recurring problems she was causing, she was fired. Later on, she found a job through an acquaintance of hers. There, she targeted the young CEO, and after resuming her stalker behavior for a while, this time she was arrested. I don't know what happened to her after that, but if you ask me, I doubt she's living a life anywhere near decent. As for me, Mr. CEO, sir! Congratulations! Yes, thank you! I was promoted to CEO, and I'm working my ass off. Our results show a lot of promise. Because of the more recent changes, the employees were happy with their jobs, declaring the enterprise a white one. And my private life is also going splendidly. I married Madeline, and after leaving my home, we built a house and are living together now. Our jobs keep us pretty busy all week round. But Madeline, my angel, doesn't mind that.
Hey, honey. I went to my gynecologist today and...
Wait, for real? It seems our life together will be coming to an end soon.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.